I've always believed that people only show their true colors when things fall apart. When the tires come off, when the floor gives out, that's when you find out what someone's really made of. I didn't learn that from a book, or a movie, or some motivational speaker on YouTube. I learned it the hard way, from the woman I married. My name's Mark Garrison. I'm just a regular guy. 43. Born and raised in central Indiana, a small town where Friday night football and bar and grill specials are still a big deal. I work maintenance at a local school district. Not glamorous, but steady. Fix leaky faucets, keep the heat running in winter, mow the lawns in summer. I take pride in it. My wife's name is Anna. We met at a church picnic 15 years ago. She was beautiful. Still is, in that subtle, quiet way, the kind of woman who could make you forget your own name with a smile. She worked reception at a dentist's office back then. We hit it off, got married a year later, bought a modest house with aluminum siding and a maple tree out front. The American dream, right? But the dream had cracks. Not big ones at first. Little hairline fractures. A disagreement about money here, a quiet dinner there. The first signs, I now realize, of a fault line running right through the center of our marriage. It all started with a gas station receipt. I was looking for the stapler in the kitchen junk drawer. You know, the one, full of rubber bands, expired coupons, pens that don't work. I pulled everything out and found a wadded-up gas receipt tucked under a stack of takeout menus. At first, I barely looked at it. I mean, who pays attention to receipts these days? But something caught my eye, not the amount, but the time. 2:18 a.m. 2 weeks ago. That made no sense. Anna's a light sleeper. She's in bed by 10 always. And I sure as hell didn't buy gas at that hour. I unfolded the paper, staring at the date, the time, the address. It was from a station off I-65, about 30 miles out of town. Not the kind of place you end up by accident. I figured maybe she got gas after visiting her sister or something. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. So I asked her. "Hey," I said casually that night over dinner. "You ever stop at that Sunoco off I-65 recently? I found a receipt." She didn't even flinch. Didn't miss a bite. "Oh yeah, I stopped there when I went to see Rebecca." "Why?" I nodded, let it go. But my stomach twisted. Rebecca lives on the other side of town, in the opposite direction. The next day, while she was at work, I checked her laptop. I'm not proud of it. But sometimes you just know. You know in your bones something's wrong. She'd left her email open. There wasn't much at first. But tucked between dentist appointment confirmations and Kohl's coupons, I found a message from someone named LJ. No last name. Just initials. "Thursday night works." "Same place?" she had replied. "Yep. I'll bring the dress you like." "Same rate?" "Same rate." My blood ran cold. I closed the laptop and sat at the table for a long time. My hands were shaking. My face was hot, but my chest felt frozen. I wasn't naive. I knew what it meant. Now let me be clear, we weren't rich. Far from it. We were scraping by after I had to take a pay cut last year. Bills were tight. We stopped going out to eat. Skipped vacations. Anna even sold some of her old clothes on Facebook Marketplace. And now this. Selling herself. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted it to be some dumb misunderstanding. But deep down I knew. I didn't confront her right away. Maybe part of me was in shock. Maybe part of me didn't want to believe the woman I'd built a life with, painted the nursery with, stood beside at my father's funeral, was capable of this. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. So I started watching. I didn't tell anyone. Not my brother, not my coworkers, not even my best friend, Doug, who's been with me since high school. I didn't want advice. I wanted proof. A week later, she told me she was working late, some training session, at the office. She left at 6, looking nice. Nicer than usual. Hair curled. That floral perfume she hadn't worn in months. I waited 20 minutes, then followed her. She didn't go to the office. She drove 30 miles north to a rundown motel behind a truck stop. I parked 2 lots over and waited. My hands gripped the wheel like a vice. She didn't come out for almost 2 hours. When she finally did, she was alone. She looked different. Tired, but not in the usual way. Her shoulders slumped. She stood by the car for a while, staring at the ground like she hated herself. I didn't know whether to scream or cry. I did neither. I just started the truck and drove home. That night, I lay awake next to her, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe. She curled up beside me in her sleep, like she used to back when we were happy. I felt sick. Sick at the thought that I still loved her, even now. But something inside me had shifted. A line had been crossed. Trust is like a windshield. Once it cracks, it never looks the same again. And I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't going to let this go. Not quietly. Not easily. Not after everything I gave up for her. The days that followed were strange. It's hard to describe. Like walking around inside someone else's life. On the surface, everything looked normal. We still made coffee in the morning. Still said good night, like nothing was broken. Anna smiled, laughed at dumb commercials, asked if I wanted anything from the store. But behind her eyes, something was off. She avoided too much eye contact. Kept her phone tighter than usual. Slept facing the other way. She knew. Maybe not everything. Maybe not that I'd followed her. But she knew something had changed between us. And she was right. I started keeping a journal. I don't know why. I'd never been a journal kind of guy. But there was something about putting it all down on paper that made the pain feel manageable, contained. I wrote down dates, times, things she said, where she went. Like a detective. Or maybe a lunatic. Hard to tell the difference sometimes. I watched her closely. When she did laundry, she started double-checking her pockets first. I found a business card once, just a name, Leon, and a number on the back. I called it from a burner phone I bought at Walmart. It rang twice. A voice, low, smooth, answered. Yeah. I hung up. I sat there in my truck for a long time, gripping the cheap plastic phone like it was covered in oil. I imagined his face. His hands. What he must have thought of me. A joke. Some sad husband clueless to what his wife had become. I wasn't clueless anymore. And I wasn't going to sit in the shadows like some broken man. Still, I didn't move yet. I knew revenge taken too soon was sloppy. Emotional. I wanted it to burn. Slow. Controlled. Like lighting a fire under a steel pot. Let her stew in it. Let her feel safe again before it all caved in. But first, I needed more. I asked her if she wanted to go out one Saturday. Just the two of us. We hadn't done that in a while. She looked surprised, suspicious, even, but she said yes. We went to that old Italian place on Main Street. The one with the string lights and chalkboard specials. She wore a red blouse I hadn't seen in over a year. I told her she looked nice. She smiled, not like someone in love, but like someone who needed the lie. Halfway through dinner, I brought up the idea of a weekend trip. Somewhere quiet, I said. You and me. No phones. Just us. Her fork paused. That sounds nice, she said. But her voice caught slightly on the last word. I knew she was calculating. trying to figure out how to shuffle her appointments. I smiled and changed the subject. The next night, she was texting more than usual. I didn't say anything. I just waited until she fell asleep, then slipped her phone from under her pillow. I guessed the passcode a few weeks back. It was our wedding date. The irony didn't escape me. The messages were there. Not many. She clearly deleted most, but I found a few that slipped through. LJ. Usual time. Cash ready. Anna. Can't this week. Too many eyes. Soon. LJ. You're worth the risk. It was all I needed. Names. Patterns. Tone. She wasn't being coerced. She wasn't trapped. She was choosing this. And that hurt more than I expected. But it also made things easier. Because now I knew exactly who I was dealing with. The next morning, I told her I was working overtime that Saturday. Told her the school needed some boiler work done. She nodded absently and kissed my cheek like she always did. I didn't go to work. Instead, I drove out to the motel again. Waited. And sure enough, just after 7 p.m., a black Honda pulled up. Anna stepped out. Same red blouse. Hair curled. A small duffel bag in hand. She didn't look around this time. She was too comfortable. Too used to this. My stomach twisted, but I kept still. 5 minutes later, a tall man got out of another car. Mid-40s, expensive jacket, confident walk. He didn't look like a sleaze bag. That was the worst part. He looked normal. Clean. They greeted each other like old friends. No passion. Just routine. Like this was business. I snapped a photo with my burner phone. Then another. Them walking in. The door number. Everything. It was done in 10 minutes. I didn't follow them inside. I didn't need to. I had what I came for. Back at home, I sat in the garage for almost an hour. The smell of oil and grass clippings filled the air. I looked at the old toolbox my dad left me. The little scuffs on the concrete from where Anna had backed into the workbench 2 years ago. It used to be a life. Now it felt like a crime scene. I made a list that night. A real one this time. Not in the journal. This wasn't about feelings anymore. 1. Evidence. Collect everything. Print screenshots. Save copies. 2. Financials. Quietly check our bank accounts. Credit cards. Anything unusual. 3. Leverage. Find out who LJ really is. 4. Exit plan. Legal, clean, or not. It might sound cold. Calculated. But when someone rips your heart out and expects you to keep smiling, well, you learn to play a different game. A quieter one. And I had time. Because she still thought I didn't know. And that was going to be her biggest mistake. Finding out who LJ really was turned out to be easier than I expected. I started with the phone number from Anna's messages. I ran it through a reverse lookup site on my work computer, one of those subscription databases the school uses to track down absentee parents. A little trick the IT guy showed me once over coffee. The name came back, Leon James. Address, a few towns over, near Lafayette. Business owner. No criminal record. LinkedIn profile said, independent consultant, whatever that means. When I dug a little deeper, I found a grainy photo. Same tall guy from the motel. Clean cut. Probably someone who wore cologne that cost more than my monthly grocery bill. The man she was risking everything for. No, scratch that. The man she was getting paid by. A part of me wanted to drive to his house right then and there. Slam on his door. Make him look me in the eye. But I didn't. Because this wasn't about him. Not really. It was about her. Still, Leon James was a variable. A loose end. And if I was going to end this my way, I needed to understand exactly what kind of man I was dealing with. So I paid him a visit. Not directly. That would have been stupid. I watched him from a distance. Thursday afternoon. He pulled into a strip mall parking lot. Upscale sushi place tucked between a tanning salon and a boutique gym. I parked 2 spaces over, lowered my hat, and followed him in. He took a booth in the back, ordered a single glass of sake and some fancy-looking appetizer. I sat across the restaurant, pretending to scroll my phone, but watching everything. He looked bored, detached, and completely unaware that the husband of the woman he'd been paying was 20 feet away, memorizing the way he stirred his drink. He left a $100 bill under the tray and walked out like he owned the place. Typical. Back at home, Anna was in the living room watching some baking show. She looked up when I walked in, smiled softly, like nothing in the world was wrong. "How was work?" she asked. "Same old," I said, dropping my keys in the bowl by the door. She didn't notice the small flash drive in my pocket, the one that now contained every screenshot, every photo, every timestamp from the last 3 weeks. Backup stored on the cloud, the drive, and a folder labeled Property Tax Docs on my desktop. Just in case. I didn't know what my endgame was yet. I wasn't after a confrontation. I wasn't after divorce court drama. No. I wanted her to feel it. To feel the slow, rising dread of a lie unraveling from the inside out. And for that, I needed patience. And silence. The next piece fell into my lap. I was checking our credit card statement, something Anna usually handled. But ever since I discovered the truth, I'd been going through everything with a magnifying glass. That's when I saw it. A cash withdrawal. $2,000. From a shared savings account I didn't even remember opening. Date? The same day she told me she was visiting her mom. I called the bank, pretended I needed help locating a routing number. Got a kind lady named Cheryl on the line. While she poked around, I asked casually, "Hey, can you tell me when this account was opened?" She clicked her keyboard. "Looks like about 9 months ago. February." I remembered February. I'd been down with the flu that whole week. Slept through most of it. Anna must have taken my ID, opened it in person, and never said a word. I thanked Cheryl, hung up, and stared at the wall. That's when it hit me. This wasn't some recent mistake. Some impulsive fall into temptation. She had been building this. Planning. Like a secret life inside our life. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in bed beside her, and the sound of her breathing felt like mockery. I got up, went into the garage, and sat on the workbench, staring at a wall of tools. That's when the idea came to me. Not just punishment. Not just exposure. Erasure. What if I could make it so she lost everything she gained from this? Make her taste the same betrayal, the same loss, but amplified? I started drafting a plan. Not the kind of plan that ended with anyone in jail or a hospital. That would have made me the villain in my own story. No. This would be cleaner. More surgical. The next day, I went to see Doug. He's been my best friend since we were 15. Ran a local IT company out of his basement. Smart as hell with computers, but still thought CD players were making a comeback. I brought beer and told him I needed a favor. "You still do those ghost site things?" I asked. "The ones where you make fake email addresses and websites that look real." He grinned. "Still running scams on scammers for fun, if that's what you mean?" I gave him the briefest version. "I need to make someone think they've been found out. And I want it to feel real. FBI level real." He blinked. "You're messing with someone." I shrugged. "Someone's messing with me. I just want them to panic." Doug didn't ask more. That's what I liked about him. 2 days later, he sent me a link. An official-looking webpage with fake DOJ seals and a login portal mark. Secure evidence submission, ongoing investigation. There was a personalized case ID, an empty evidence log section, and a field that read, uploaded by Garrison M. Doug even added a section showing a pending arrest warrant, with a countdown timer for dramatics. I couldn't stop smiling. I took screenshots. Then I printed out a fake letter to Anna, carefully aged with coffee stains and a USPS label, and left it half tucked under some junk mail on the kitchen counter. I made sure she'd find it while I was at work. When I got home, she was sitting on the edge of the couch, holding the letter like it was radioactive. "Mark," she said, voice thin. "What is this?" I pretended not to know. Took it from her hand. Read it slowly, pretending to react in real time. "This must be a mistake," I said, frowning. "It's probably spam. Some scam thing." She didn't respond. Just stared at me, pale, trying to read whether I believed what I was saying. I gave her a concerned look. "Are you okay?" She nodded quickly. Yeah, it just freaked me out, is all." She didn't touch her dinner that night. And for the first time in weeks, I saw something new in her eyes. Fear. After the fake letter, Anna changed. Not outwardly, not enough for anyone else to notice. But I did. Her eyes were jumpier. She double-checked doors, windows, even the mail. She started taking her phone into the bathroom, but not in the casual way people do when scrolling Instagram. No, she'd stay in there for 20 minutes, dead quiet. I didn't ask. I didn't have to. The seed had been planted. Now I just had to let it grow. The next morning, I set a new trap. While she was showering, I replaced the background image on her laptop with a screen cap from Doug's fake DOJ site. The part with a pending investigation ID tag and her name partially visible in the source code. Then I closed the lid like nothing happened. 2 hours later, she called me at work. Her voice was shaking. "Mark, did you touch my computer?" I played dumb. "Huh? What do you mean?" "My desktop, the background. Did you do something to it?" I frowned. "No. Maybe it's a virus. Do you want me to look at it when I get home?" She was quiet for too long. I could hear her breathing. "Sure," she finally said. "Yeah, that'd be great." She hung up before I could say anything else. When I got home, the laptop was back to normal. She must have figured out how to change the image. But the damage was done. She was spiraling now, trying to stitch up a wound that wouldn't close. That weekend, she barely slept. She stared out windows, like she was waiting for someone to show up. By Monday, I noticed something missing. Her red blouse, the one she wore to the motel. Gone from the closet. Her duffel bag, too. She was burying evidence. And I let her. The next phase was more delicate. I didn't just want her to panic. I wanted her to confess. Not with tears. Not with excuses. I wanted the truth in her own voice. So I planted a phone in the guest room, tucked into the lamp base, recording app running. Then I casually brought up money over dinner one night. "We should probably talk about our savings," I said. "Feels like we've been bleeding cash lately." She looked up quickly, then forced a smile. "You think so?" "I know so. There's almost nothing left in our main account. I thought we had $3,000 in there." "Oh, well," she said, stabbing at her potatoes. "I had to move some of it around. Bills. You know how it is." I nodded like I believed her. Like I didn't already have the full transaction history printed and filed. Later that night, I said I was going for a walk. Instead, I slipped back into the house, barefoot, and listened outside the guest room. She was on the phone. Not loud, but I could hear enough. No, I think he knows. No, he hasn't said anything, but something's off. I don't know, Leon. It's getting dangerous. There was some kind of letter from. Yes, I'm being careful. She paused. Then, maybe we should just stop. For a while. Lay low. I left before I heard the rest. I didn't need more. That recording was all I needed. The moment of truth. I slept better that night than I had in weeks. But the real twist came the next day. She didn't go to work. I noticed her car still in the driveway when I pulled out. I circled the block and parked a few houses down, waiting to see what she'd do. An hour passed. Then she came out, got into her car, and drove off. I followed, careful to stay back. She didn't go to Leon. She went to a lawyer. A place in downtown Indianapolis. Big white sign, tall windows. Real money firm. She stayed inside for nearly 2 hours. When she came out, her face was blank. Not scared. Not guilty. Focused. I clenched the wheel so hard my knuckles cracked. This wasn't just damage control anymore. She was plotting something. I drove home and called Doug. You still got those old audio distortion filters? I asked. Yeah. Why? Gonna need your help. I need to send a message. We spent the night crafting the perfect voicemail. It was short, less than 30 seconds. Masked voice. Enough distortion to sound federal, but clear enough to understand. This is a formal notification under Code 431B, activity involving Leon James, and the subject known as Anna Garrison has been logged for review. Disclosures have been initiated. Legal counsel is advised. We sent it to her phone at 3:04 a.m. She listened to it 3 times. Didn't sleep the rest of the night. I could hear her pacing from our bedroom. The next morning, she left early. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't make coffee. By noon, I got a text. Can we talk tonight? I waited 3 hours before replying. Sure. What's on your mind? That night, she sat across from me at the kitchen table, hands folded so tight her knuckles turned white. I need to tell you something, she said. I nodded. She took a breath. I made a mistake. A bad one. I stared, letting the silence pressure her. She swallowed hard. There was someone. A guy. I needed money. And it wasn't supposed to be like this. It wasn't supposed to go on this long, but then things just happened. You're sleeping with him? I asked calmly. Tears welled in her eyes. It wasn't like that at first. I was going to tell you. I wanted to. I just didn't know how. I let her twist in the silence. Let her think I was stunned. Or heartbroken. But I was neither. I was finally in control. Why? I asked. Why him? Because he paid? She whispered. And because we were struggling. I thought if I could just get us ahead, I'd stop. I could fix it before you knew. And now? She looked down. Now I think it's too late. I nodded. You're right. She looked up, eyes wide. I've got a lot to think about, I said, standing. Thanks for telling me. I need some air. I walked out the front door, heart pounding. Not with grief, but with satisfaction. Because she'd just given me the last piece. And the revenge? It was only just beginning. After the confession, Anna changed her approach. She started acting like a better wife. Made me breakfast 3 mornings in a row. Ironed my shirts. Asked how work was going. Really asked. Not just nodded and checked her phone while I talked. It was like living with a ghost version of our early marriage. The woman I'd fallen in love with, now powered by guilt and desperation. And I let her. I kissed her forehead when she handed me my lunch. Told her she didn't have to make dinner if she was tired. Smiled when she said she was canceling her gym membership to save money. The whole time, I kept a straight face. But inside, I was watching the tower she'd built begin to lean. Every good deed, every kind word, a beam pulled from the foundation, making her own guilt collapse under its weight. I didn't need to punish her with yelling or violence. That's not who I am. What I had planned was quieter, permanent, untraceable. Doug and I got to work the next weekend. I need a fake email address, I told him, with Leon James' name on it. He didn't even blink. Work email? Personal? Work. Make it look like it came from him. With attachments. What kind of attachments? I smiled. Bank statements. Messages. Pictures. Anything that paints him like the middleman in something sleazy. And make sure one of those files references Anna by name. Doug gave a low whistle. You're not playing around anymore. Nope. He nodded and got to work. A few days later, I had the package, a folder of incriminating PDFs and JPGs, doctored but convincing. Watermarks, timestamps, everything. You'd have to be an IT expert to know they were fake. I printed one set and left it at the post office. Mailed anonymously to Leon's wife. Yes, he was married too. I found her on Facebook. Pictures of 2 kids, a dog, family trips to Vermont. She looked like the kind of woman who planned matching Christmas pajamas and actually enjoyed PDA meetings. She deserved the truth, even if it was packaged in lies. And when it arrived, I made sure it did damage. Because here's the thing, Anna wasn't the only one who built her life on a secret. A few days later, Anna got a call. I was in the garage, pretending to fix a lawnmower engine. The moment she stepped outside with her phone pressed to her ear, I turned off the socket wrench and listened. No, what? Are you serious? His wife? How? Oh my God, no, I didn't. Leon, calm down. I didn't send anything. She was pacing now, hand on her head, eyes wide like a deer trying to cross traffic. What do you mean she's threatening to call the cops? I didn't give her anything. I swear. She froze. Do you think it was my husband? My heart stopped for half a beat. Then, no. No, I told you, he doesn't know. Not really. He just, something's changed. I smiled to myself. Not really, huh? We'll fix that soon. That night she cried. In bed. Silently, the kind of cry where they turn their face into the pillow and don't want you to hear. I didn't say anything. Just lay there, facing the ceiling, counting seconds. Eventually she whispered, Mark? Yeah. If I told you everything, would you still leave me? That was a trap. One she didn't know I'd already dismantled. I turned toward her, eyes calm. Why did you pick him? She looked confused. What do you mean? There are 1,000 men out there. Why him? She hesitated. Because he offered, she said. Because he made it sound easy. Like it wasn't real. Like I could turn it off whenever I wanted. And why didn't you? She stared at the ceiling now. Because I liked the feeling. Not the guy. Just the control. The attention. It was the truest thing she'd said in weeks. I nodded. I believe you. And weirdly, I did. That's what made it worse. The next morning, I went to my lawyer. Not to file for divorce. Not yet. Just to update my will. I made sure everything that belonged to me, the house, the insurance, the truck, had one clear backup beneficiary, my younger sister, June. Anna would get nothing, no matter how I went. Just in case, I told the lawyer. Been feeling a little off lately. He laughed. I didn't. That weekend, I called Leon. Used the burner phone again. made sure the number was untraceable. He picked up on the third ring. "Who is this?" I didn't answer right away. Then, calmly, I said, "You're a disease, and diseases get removed." Click. I tossed the phone into the river that night. Let the current take it. I wasn't interested in threats. I was interested in reactions. And from what I'd seen, the man was already unraveling. His wife had posted a cryptic status online. "Everything in the dark comes to light. Prayers appreciated." Comments were pouring in. People were starting to connect the dots. I didn't have to burn him. I just had to tip the first domino. But Anna was still a problem. Because guilt doesn't always mean change. Sometimes it just means fear. And I needed her to confess to more than just words. So I set the final trap. I drafted a fake legal letter, complete with stamps, watermarks, and a phony return address from a real firm in Chicago. Inside was a statement of pending litigation. James versus Garrison. Defamation, emotional distress, conspiracy to commit fraud. I made it look like Leon had filed it. I slipped it into our mailbox before she came home. That evening, I watched her flip through the mail, pause, open the envelope. Her hand started shaking by the third sentence. I could see the color drain from her face, like a candle melting in reverse. She sat on the edge of the stairs and just stared. Then she started muttering, "Oh God, oh God." She didn't eat dinner. Didn't say a word to me. Just went to bed early and locked the door behind her. I let her. Let her sit in the consequences. Let her imagine what was coming. Because that's what I wanted. To make her feel what I felt. And I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. The day she snapped was a Thursday. Gray skies. Heavy rain. The kind that makes every street look like a memory you're trying to forget. I came home from work and found Anna sitting at the kitchen table with a pile of papers in front of her. Bills, the fake legal letter, a manila envelope she must have dug out of the file cabinet. Her eyes were red. Her hair a mess. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. She didn't speak right away. Just stared at me like I was someone else. Someone she used to know. "I need to tell you everything," she said finally. I sat down across from her, heart thudding in my chest, not with nerves, but anticipation. This was it. The moment everything finally caved in on her. She slid a piece of paper toward me. A handwritten list. Names, dates, amounts. Every encounter. "I kept track," she said. "At first it was just once, but then he told his friend. And then another one." My stomach turned. Not because I was surprised, I wasn't, but because of how casually she said it. Like she was listing off groceries. "I thought I could stop," she continued. "I really did. But every time I tried, something would come up. The car needed tires. Your mom needed help with her furnace. That winter the heater almost died, and we couldn't afford to replace it. And that justified it?" I asked quietly. "No. But it made it easier to ignore what I was doing." She looked down. I hated myself for it. But I hated feeling powerless even more. I stood and walked over to the window. Rain tapped against the glass like a slow, steady metronome counting down. "So what now?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. "I don't know," she whispered. "I'm scared, Mark." "Of what?" "Everything." She was trembling now. "I think Leon is going to come after me. Or his wife. Or the cops. I don't even know what's real anymore." I turned to face her. Let her see in my eyes what I hadn't said out loud. "You made it real." That silenced her. She nodded slowly, like someone finally accepting their own sentence. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she said. "I won't." Another nod. I want to do the right thing now." Whatever that means. I picked up the envelope, flipped through the contents. Her handwritten confessions, bank stubs, screenshots she must have printed off her own phone. You sure about this? I asked. Yes. I walked out to the garage without another word and locked the door behind me. That night, I uploaded every document to a private drive. Then I shared a link with 3 people. Doug, for safekeeping. Myself, under a disguised email account. Leon's wife. Attached was a note. You don't know me, but your husband and my wife have been sharing more than lies. Thought you deserved the truth. I didn't include my name. Didn't need to. The files would speak for themselves. 2 days later, everything blew open. Leon's wife filed for divorce. She posted a public statement on social media about his exploitation and manipulation of multiple women, tagging his business account. Within hours, the company's Facebook page vanished. Website gone. Phone number disconnected. By Monday, Leon James was a ghost. Anna came home that night pale as chalk. She didn't speak, just handed me her phone. Dozens of texts from Leon. All of them panicked. Angry. What did you do? You think this is a game? You ruined me. And finally, this isn't over. I deleted them. Blocked the number. Tossed the phone in the kitchen drawer and shut it hard. Then I looked at her. You need to leave, I said. Her mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. You did this, I said. You broke it, and now you're going to live with it. She looked like she wanted to beg or cry, but I didn't give her the space. I pointed to the stairs. Pack your things. You'll stay with your sister. Just like that? Yes. She didn't move at first. So I walked past her, opened the front door, and stood there holding it open. It took her a long time to go upstairs. She came down with a suitcase, a backpack, and nothing else. No tears. Just silence. When she got to the door, she turned back and said, You're not who I thought you were. I stared at her. That makes 2 of us. And then she was gone. Later that night, I sat on the back porch, listening to the rain roll off the gutter. The house was quiet for the first time in months. Too quiet, maybe. I knew people would judge me if they knew everything. If they saw the steps I'd taken, the lines I'd blurred. But they hadn't lived in this house. They hadn't seen the lies stack up like bricks. And they hadn't watched love rot from the inside out. I hadn't just lost a wife. I'd lost the life I thought we built together. And now, I was finally free. But freedom doesn't feel like victory. Not right away. It just feels like silence. 3 weeks after she left, I started waking up before the alarm again. It wasn't the quiet that woke me. I'd grown used to that. It was the absence of tension. Like something heavy had been lifted off the air itself. No whispered phone calls. No fake smiles. No subtle rearranging of truth. Just a house that breathed at the same rhythm I did. I went back to my routines. Work, coffee, lawn on Saturdays, beer with Doug when the weather was good. People stopped asking about Anna after the first week. Small towns are like that. Nosy up front, then they move on when you don't feed the gossip. Doug, of course, knew everything. And he never once judged me. He just listened, like a good friend should. You ever gonna tell her sister what happened? He asked one night. I shrugged. Not my problem anymore. He nodded. And Leon? Haven't heard a word. His wife cleaned him out. Last I checked, he sold his business. Might have left the state. Doug let out a low whistle. You didn't just burn the bridge, man. You nuked the whole county. Sometimes that's the only way to make sure the thing doesn't grow back. We sat in silence a while after that, watching the sun dip behind the rooftops, like it had someplace better to be. A few days later, Anna came back. Unannounced. I heard the knock on the front door just after dinner. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened it and found her standing there, pale, smaller somehow, like the wind had blown parts of her away. She wasn't wearing makeup. No perfume. Just jeans and a sweatshirt I didn't recognize. "I'm not here to fight," she said quickly, "or ask for anything." I leaned against the frame, arms crossed. "Then what do you want?" "I just needed to see it. The house." "You?" "One more time." I didn't move. I didn't invite her in. She looked past me, eyes scanning the living room behind my shoulder. "You rearranged the furniture," she said. "Yup." A pause. "I keep thinking about that last night," she said. "When I confessed. The way you looked at me." "What about it?" "It wasn't hate. It wasn't even sadness. It was something else." She looked at me like she still didn't understand what she'd seen. "It was relief," I told her. Her lip trembled. "I don't blame you. You shouldn't." She dug in her pocket and pulled out a small envelope. "I left this with my lawyer, in case I didn't have the courage to bring it myself." "What is it?" "My side. Everything. In writing. I gave up the house. The car. No alimony. I told her I won't contest anything." I took the envelope but didn't open it. "I know you don't owe me anything," she said, softer now. "But I needed to say it out loud. I'm sorry." I nodded once. "I know." She stood there for a few more seconds, like she hoped I'd ask her to stay. I didn't. She turned and walked back down the steps to her car. Didn't look back. This time, I didn't watch her drive away. A month later, I boxed up the last of her things. Dropped them at Rebecca's porch with a note. "Do what you want with these." Then I came home, grabbed a paintbrush, and covered the accent wall in the hallway, the one Anna had insisted on painting red back when we moved in. I replaced it with a soft gray. Clean. Neutral. Quiet. A better reflection of what the house had become. Sometimes I still think about the early days. Our first Christmas. That weekend trip to Nashville where we got lost and ended up eating gas station sandwiches under a motel ice machine. Back then, she laughed like she meant it. And I loved her like she'd never break anything. It's a strange kind of grief. Not for the person, but for the version of them that existed before they changed. And stranger still to realize they might be grieving that version of you too. One afternoon, months later, I ran into Leon's wife at a hardware store. She looked different, sharper, more sure of herself. We locked eyes, and I thought she might turn away. But she didn't. She walked up and said, "Thank you." I didn't say anything. She handed me a card, small, plain, just her first name and a phone number. "If you ever want to talk, or vent, or just sit in silence." I nodded and slipped it into my pocket. I haven't called. But I haven't thrown it away either. There's a saying, you bury the past so it won't haunt you, but the ground remembers where you dug. I think that's true. But I also think if you dig deep enough, burn what needs burning, and walk away with nothing left to hide, then maybe, just maybe, you can build something new on that ground. Something honest. Even if it's just yourself.